If you like this episode, please subscribe, share with others, rate and review so we can continue to bring you great programming.
This is The Thing About Cars, a podcast for car enthusiasts and the people who love them.
Hello and welcome to The Thing About Cars. It's a rainy day here in Atlanta, but a sunny day in the Netherlands. Misty, how are you?
Not moist, but contemplating a visit to the local hog farm.
That hog farm. I don't want to talk about that hog farm. Tim, how are you, sir?
I'm feeling racy. How about you?
I'm not feeling very racy at all. In fact, I'm wearing the most conservative caftan I can find. And
all
the
right.
race is on in the background. Is that the same race Misty's watching?
No. I paused the Formula One race. I'm about 2/3 of the way through that. That is behind me is some of yesterday's qualifying for the Indy 500.
Our special guest for today is Alison. Alison, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
I'm great. I've been looking forward to this for a while, I must confess. We picked up the ball and dropped it. I picked up the ball and dropped it, picked up the ball and dropped it, and finally, let's just get something scheduled. So I'm glad you were able to come to the podcast today. I didn't get to give my gang much of an introduction to Alison at all. Alison plays in SCCA, and you have a long set of interests in the automotive world, don't you, Alison?
I do. I started out it was in 2010. So I was relatively late in the game because I was 30 at that time. Ugh. And most people start racing when they are young, junior karters and such. But I was made up some adult friends who were like, hey, you should come see what I do on the weekends. And I did, and I was hooked ever since. So I started in autocross, which is timed racing in classes, one car at a time, around a set track that you've created with cones and such. And then I also run the local track night events for Track Night in America. I also do something in our race weekends, our club racing weekends at Road Atlanta. I do something called Shush Sessions, which is like a baby track event for some of the quieter cars that operate during quiet hours at Road Atlanta so that the local folks can still hear the preacher over all the race engines. And then I also I got involved with the SCCA Appalachian Hill Climb Series. And so I've been doing race control for that as well. So it's a lot.
And Alison, I don't think I've met you at the track, but I work timing and scoring. So.
Awesome. So you're in the big building.
Yes. In climate-controlled comfort.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
It's because he's weak.
I'm the one in a poncho in the rain on pit lane.
I've done that too. I've flagged a corner or two.
Misty says it's because he's weak.
Weak. It's 'cause you're weak.
You know.
Misty, how goes the race on your end? Did they win?
Well, we are done, and I will not spoil.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
I'm just gonna say that.
No,
okay.
Don't just say that.
Yeah, I'm just.
Anything you say is going to be a spoiler for. So wait, Alison, people near the track have to pray on Sundays. Is that what happens?
Nobody really knows where the quiet hours came from, but the suspicion is that being in Georgia in a Bible forward state, that when they built the racetrack, there's of course several churches within hearing distance, and so the lore is that the preachers were fighting and losing the sound battle, and that they requested that from 10 to 12 be quiet on Sundays.
Well, it's not like you can't walk 20 feet in Georgia and not hit a church. I mean, like I said, I'm from Rabin County, but I grew up in Gainesville, Vegas. God bless them.
I wrote an op-ed for a local magazine years ago. My observation then was there's this church on every street, and it's still mostly true, especially on the south side of Atlanta. Every street near where I lived had a small church on it somewhere.
Well, because everybody's got to have their own flavor of Jesus.
You've heard that Emo Phillips joke.
No.
Yeah. Oh, I'll send you the joke. It's funny. Emo runs into a guy on a bridge who's contemplating suicide, and the joke takes off from there. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't heard it before because I can't tell the joke properly now, but I will send you the link.
Okay, twofold interruption. Dave said he's been sitting in the waiting room for 15 minutes.
He's got to use the link that was sent via email, not the one that's on the Facebook chat. Yeah.
Can somebody else? I'm confusing myself. I'm confusing myself by trying to type on.
All right, here, Dave, Pauly.
Let's use. I can't type and talk at the same time. I'm slow. I'm from Georgia.
Yeah, that's because you're trying to do two verbal things at the same time. It's like,
well, at least I'm not trying to talk in Dutch and type in English. No, that's I'm going to do myself a misery, an injury.
My question, do you speak Dutch with a Southern accent?
Apparently, if you ask my son sounds like I sound like a Moroccan from Brabant, which is a southern province that has its own dialect. Well, actually, pretty much anywhere has its own dialect. You've got Leids and Haags and Rotterdams and Amsterdams and Katwijks and Brabants and Limburgs. But the southern ones tend to be actually harder for me to understand because they have what they call the really soft G. But I mean, I'm Southern. It is what it is,
So Dave Pauly, do we have to prepare anything special for him?
No, he's saying now that it's late, so but anyway.
He says he's not going to join. We don't have a special greeting for our Dave.
I don't know what to tell you.
This is just going to be that kind of episode, is it?
Yeah, he's it's going to be that kind of episode. So, I've lived in the Netherlands now for 20 years, Alison.
Oh wow!
Not that you can actually tell.
It's good to know the Southern accent never truly goes away.
I was talking to a guy. I was talking to a guy on a dating app the other day, and who looks a lot like Jensen Ackles. So I'm interested. I'm like, hello, how you doing?
I want to turn the energy back to our guest here for a second. So, Alison,
give me just a moment.
We'll fix this in post, Mickey. That's it.
Want you to untwist your drawers there for a minute, doll baby.
I'm not wearing any.
Okay. Oh my Lord in heaven! So he's like, oh, it's just so easy to talk to you, and I was like, well, my mama says I'm insidious, which is a very Southern thing.
That's true. That is very true. So, Alison, are you not from the South?
No, I am born and raised in Atlanta. So the accent didn't translate being in the city, but my dad is from South Georgia, Montezuma, Georgia, if you've ever heard of it, which nobody ever has. And
I have.
How do you nice? Yeah, it's like, the movie theater was in Americus. No? Okay, well, the big turnoff at the interstate is Perry. Okay, maybe you've heard of it, and then sometimes you got to get all the way back to Macon, and then people are like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know why I've heard of Montezuma, though, but Dave, I have.
We're totally getting
no good reason.
Dave Pauly, I'm sorry, Alison, this is Dave. Dave, we are totally getting a late start here from Explain. Just introduced Alison, who does SCCA stuff and is down in the pits most of the time. Is that a chosen duty, Alison?
Well, sort of. I am friends with somebody who is very persuasive in getting people to help in things that they have not necessarily helped in before. And then once you're in, right? And so my friend Hayward is let's see if I can remember his title, the Senior Director of Experiential Programs and Track Events or something like that. Anyway, so he is very good at putting people with things. And so he's always that's how I got into hill climb and the chef sessions and track night, actually. He was just called and was like, hey, I think you'd be good at this. You're not telling people what to do, right? And I was like, yeah, totally. And I'm loud, so it works over all the race engines. Like, who needs the microphone?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So he persuaded you, but you grabbed it and ran with it. I mean, you really love the activity. What is it about it that you like?
It's really fun to watch people have fun. Like, I feel like in work, a lot of times, and my regular job is in animal welfare. And so there's a lot of like stress and sadness and things like that. It's a heavy industry to work in, especially right now. Right. And so to be able to go and do something where like everybody there is having a good time unless they've crashed their car, in which case that's very rare. And, we're sorry for those people, but everybody's just got a grin on their face. Everybody's super excited about it. And one of the things in the arenas that I've worked in, one of the things that I find to be the most important part is that we're very customer service forward. So, okay, you got here late. I could be mad at you for doing that, but instead, let's see how we can work you into a couple of sessions, and I'll give you credit for the one that you missed, right? Or just trying to do, your brakes just don't feel right. Well, I don't want you to go out there, so let's get you some credits, and we'll get you fixed up at the next event. Or let's find. It's a very camaraderie-based sport. And so if your car breaks, there are 17 people around that are trying to find the part, find the tool, and help you fix it. It's very, there are some jerks out there, just like in any industry, in any sport, but it's, by and large, really great people that are all just want everybody else to have as much fun as they're having.
Yeah, that it's everyone wants someone to go play with out on track. So
yeah, absolutely.
Well, and even if you're, the guy who wants to, you absolutely have to win everything, you'd rather beat 9 people, or you'd rather beat 10 people than just 9 people. So,
absolutely.
That's kind of the point. You can't be first if there's nobody to race against.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean first and last and everything else in between.
So, Dave, have you ever done any SCCA events as a spectator or a participant?
I have not, actually. I think the closest, I have to most, first of all, any type of racing, my family has a passion for horse racing that other people reserve for Islam. So that's always been our primary focus on racing. But I've not. It sounds fascinating, though.
I've never been to an SCCA event, actually. Yeah.
We can get you in. We know people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People. That's it.
We are people.
Yes.
Well, I'm not, but the rest of you are.
Wait.
Yeah, that was going to be my second thing, Tim, was the
we usually do our trivia question at the top.
Oh, yeah.
So
this is our disorganized rainy Sunday approach to the thing about cars. So, Allison, what we typically do is we start every episode with a question. Since Tim is our trivia czar, he asked the question, and we'll answer it at the end of it.
Right.
So, all right, hit it, Tim.
Okay, so if you work on your own cars or know someone who works on their own cars, you may have seen a tube of Permatex product in their garage. They're famously a gasket maker. Gasket in a tube, basically silicone and other type sealants. So today's question is, what was the first product that Permatex developed back in 1909? And as usual, it's a multiple choice question. Was it A, a leather adhesive for automobile roofs? Was it B, a shellac to bond tires to rims? Was it C, chrome polish? Or D, a gasket cement? So choices again: leather adhesive for automobile roofs, shellac to bond tires to rims, a chrome polish, or gasket cement, going back to the early days of automobiles in 1909.
I'm slightly disappointed that none of those answers.
Yeah, it's actually, you found a way to really put the excitement in this trivia question.
I feel vaguely unsatisfied.
Well, okay. There's option E, rubber cement.
Rubber cement.
Okay. We at least have a double entendre. We can move on.
We can live with that. Absolutely.
I can live with
our work
that.
is halfway done here.
Yeah.
All right.
Allison, sadly, it just goes downhill from here.
It goes
Yeah.
downhill.
I have an announcement, and I didn't even realize this until like 2 minutes ago. This is the 4th anniversary of the Dutch government believing that I am not a danger to public order and safety and giving me citizenship.
Way to go. 4 years. Congratulations, Christy. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Can you
I'm
give me
like,
a job over there?
I could assist,
Yeah.
and, you could crash at my place for a while,
Cool.
if you needed to do interviews, because I'm like,
Would I be in danger?
everybody's in danger in my house.
Right. But and you might be a danger to the public health and safety of those in the Netherlands.
That's true.
Only if they're between the ages of 22 and 28 and very pretty.
Yeah, and only from there. Yeah, only from like their kneecaps down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You weren't here for me to talk about the young man I'm talking to that bears a striking resemblance to Jensen Ackles. He's pretty. I'm going to corrupt his mortal soul.
Let me turn some attention back to our guest here. And Alison, you're more than just a guest by this point. I think you would be a totally welcome to join us any Sunday you wanted to. We're always looking for cool and fascinating people to talk with, especially those who are actively involved in sport.
Shoot, yeah.
So,
especially women that are actively involved in the sport, because even though we are one of the few podcasts in the genre that generally has at least one woman behind the mic, there's still an incredible amount of bias towards women. And I see it a lot of times in a lot of the chats with the F1. You have like Bernie Collins, who is a freaking strategist, and people are like, why is she commenting? She don't even know nothing about Formula One. And I'm like, I will punch you in the face because that woman is amazingly intelligent.
I used to, so that happens a lot in the SCCA as well. Just because, it was a boys' club for so long. And a lot of times the women would have to race in open. So if you had a husband and wife team that would come through, the woman would have to be second driver most of the time until the introduction of ladies classes. And now they have SCCA women on track and all that stuff. And so that's getting better. And at the last nationals event, we had, probably 100 to 200 women at the Women on Track brunch, which is great. But still, when you have 1,200 people registered, that's still a drop in the bucket, right?
Sure.
But it's, I always tell people about when I was in autocross back in the day, I used to do our novice schools. And so I would teach people, and you have your little babies and they come in and they get so fast, and then you go out there and you destroy their times and their self-confidence, and then they join and get better from there. But so I would always get, my friend Tom and I had a deal, which is like sometimes you just need somebody with a penis, and you can bleep that out, I guess, if you need to. But
no,
it's absolutely nothing, not a single patch on things I've said, and will continue to say.
Should we? Dave wants to underline that sentence. So.
No. Sometimes you need someone with a penis.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, like, I had this kid come up, and he was, first of all, he's wearing head to toe Ferrari gear, and I'm like, oh god, here we go. Like,
compensating.
And then he shows up in a Lotus. You can buy a Lotus for $10,000. It's not the Lotus you want.
Right.
And he rolls up in this beater Lotus, and he's like, but he's wearing all Ferrari gear. I'm like, if your Ferrari looks like this Lotus,
it wasn't a yellow Lotus, was it?
It was silver.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
It wasn't Ben.
It wasn't Ben, no.
It wasn't Ben.
Right.
So
one of our typical usual cohorts who's British car dad.
Yeah. Nice. That's nice. I love a Lotus. I can get into one. I have to barrel roll out of it, but
exactly.
Still.
Yeah.
But so he comes up and he's really like, oh. And I'm like, great, this is gonna be super fun. So I get in the car, and first of all, he's like, is there anybody else? Which is code, right? I know.
Which is code for I firmly believe that your tits inhibit the blood flow to your brain.
Exactly. And so he's like, I need a penis. And so
so do I, honey. So do I.
This may be the episode of the show. The name of the episode, brother.
This has been The Thing About Cars. Thank you for...
and the thing about penises.
Yeah, sometimes you need a penis.
So yeah, basically he's like, is there anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, there's nobody else. You're my novice. Now get in the car. Let's do this. So he launches off the start line and takes the first turn, and this giant thing of cologne starts sliding across the dash, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So I grab it and throw it under my leg, because that's the only place that's really not like slamming around. And because all I can think is, if this thing breaks, I'm going to smell like douchebag for the rest of the day. And so then he slams on the brakes, and his subwoofer hits me in the back of his head. And I'm like, who teched this car? He's like, I did. I'm like, pull over. That's it. We're done here.
You're done. Yeah.
So we get back in line after I've properly teched his car and tied everything down. And he goes, I really think I want somebody else. And I said, okay. So my friend Tom and I have this deal. And I said, all right, Tom, come on over here. He says he needs someone else. And he knows what that means too. And he goes, okay. So he takes him out for a lap, and then he comes back and he goes, did you tell him about keeping his hands at 10 and 2? And I said, yeah. And he says, well, did you tell him about looking ahead? And I said, yeah. And he goes, did she tell you about keeping both hands on the wheel and braking aggressively? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, I don't know why I needed to be here, and just wandered off. And I'm like, yeah. So that's what we did to every dude that tried that. Is we would just, well, did she tell you about this? Yeah. Okay then.
Isms tend to piss me off in a hurry. Sexism is on the top of that.
Yeah.
And, I don't know why it gets me. It always who have those insecurities and have to exercise them on other folks. I would like to bash them all with a tire or something.
Well,
there's a distinct undercurrent of violence in this episode.
I still haven't shown you guys my birthday present. Excuse me, you're gonna have to look at the rest of it. Yes, it's gonna be violent because for my son's birthday in January, his father and I got him a claymore because he's been asking. How long has he been asking for a sword?
I don't know.
And because I'm a good
that
mom.
kind of claymore, not the explosive.
Not the mine.
Yeah, the
that
sword.
was my question.
So I'm like maybe 10 centimeters taller than the sword. I'm like 5'3", Allison.
Got it.
My baby daddy is like 6'9". He's terrified of me because he's actually halfway intelligent. So my birthday is in April, and this is what my son got me.
I don't know that we can talk about
that.
And yes, the Dutch word for it is exactly what it looks like.
For those of you listening online, you're happier that you can't see this.
Yeah. Your life is better.
Suffice to say that sometimes you need a penis with a blade attached.
And sometimes you need a cold sock.
Yeah. It's a cloak to dolk.
So if what? No, don't tell me. If anybody listening in English want to take a guess as to what that was, please join us on our LinkedIn page or on our Facebook page to take a guess as to what Misty just flashed across the screen for all of us to see.
Option E of the trivia question.
Option.
To be continued on the thing about cars after dark.
Right.
Yeah. We should actually have the After Dark series.
So I've got one or two more questions for Allison. Does anyone else have anything they want to ask her?
All kinds of things, but please keep going, Nikki.
Oh, hush, Dave. I want to know what you're really into racing. You spend a lot of time racing. You're instructing, et cetera, et cetera. What is your daily driver?
Good question.
Oh, it's so disappointing. I have a 2012 Mazda 2 that's been paid off since 2013, and so
it's a Mazda.
I'm going to drive it till it dies too. Well, I could track it, but anything that you do to make it a good track car makes it a god awful daily driver. Like, I'm not tightening up the suspension. I'm not putting like bumps out. I'm not doing any of that stuff on it. It's a fun car. It's a stick shift at least.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking to the woman that drives a 2016 Mazda MX-5 Miata ND.
Love that.
Yeah,
the ND was a good one.
Yeah,
I would love a car like that. Like when I get loaners, when my car's in the shop, they always give me one of those. I'm like, ooh, if I had a different job, you would have a sucker in me, that's for sure. But yeah, unfortunately, so I drive a lot for work, and so I needed something that could handle the miles that I put on it, and then also make sure that it's small enough and nimble enough that I can survive 285 on a daily basis, which is helpful.
Well, the X has had a Mazda CX-5. He's had a Mazda 6. Ben drives, his everyday drivers also. I believe he's got the CX-5 now too.
I love a Mazda.
Yeah, Mazdas are absolutely amazing, and I've said, I've thought about getting a second car just because as much as I love Claudette, it's not super practical,
Yeah.
I just, but I would definitely stick, with a Mazda, probably Mazda 2 or Mazda 3. I think the last time I took her in, I had a Mazda 3 for the loaner. And
they don't sell 2s anymore in the U.S. So I'm hopeful that it'll be one of those cars that 20 years from now, people will be like, oh my God, Right now, it's in the low end of its Kelly Blue Book value, but it's.
Oh wow!
I took it. So the best thing about having racing cars is that you've got a lot of mechanic friends, and so I brought it in to my friend Scott, and I was like, "Hey, I need to do the mileage maintenance," and he goes, "Which one?" And I said, "Yes," and he goes, "Oh my god!" I said, "I know, all right." So he said it was in really good shape, and so I'm just going to drive it forever.
A friend of mine has a green Mazda 2, and he calls it Mike Lazowski.
Yes. Mine's that Art Deco blue.
Ah, okay.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like it.
Very
well,
cool.
mine,
I like it.
The MX-5, mine is the Soul Red.
Oh, nice.
And mine was actually the first of the, the Indies in the town where I live. And Mickey still gets mad at me because my car gets better gas mileage than his.
So anyway,
by a significant amount.
Alison, did you ever take it off any speed jumps?
So the reason I got the Mazda 2 though was because I saw a Mazda 2 who had tightened his suspension, but then, or no, he put Hoosiers on but didn't do anything to the suspension, and I saw him bicycle it over a slalom cone, and I was like, I should get one of those.
Wow.
They were like, not to do that.
So, do you have do you drive? Do you race? And do you have a regular car that you race in?
So I owned a second gen MR2, and I loved that car. It still lives. Yeah. It still lives. It's in New York State, and apparently the guy who owns it now, John, I found him on Facebook, and I friended him. He's like, "Do we know each other?" I'm like, "That's my car." He's like, "No, that's my car." And I'm like, "Open the trunk, and there's this magnet that says Alison Hill," and he goes, "Oh, it is your car." So he knows that if he ever sells it, that I'm the first person he's going to call. But I sold that car because it's mid-engine. It's a very specific car, right? And so I got really good at that car, but that didn't mean that I was a really good driver overall. So I sold it with the intention of broadening my horizons. And so now, so when you sign up on Motorsports Reg, which is like generally the sign up page for all of our events, you have a garage with all of your cars listed, and some people just have 2, and I have like 50. So essentially what happened is I just basically, at that point, I was good enough that people would be like, "Hey, do you want to run ladies class? And maybe we'll win a tire or something like that." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so the deal that I would usually make with car owners is that I would either pay your entry fee if it's a regional event, or I pay you for 2 of the 4 tires that we're going to use. And then if I win anything, money comes to me, parts go to the car. And so essentially that's a pretty good deal, I think, to most people. And so they would just kind of, and at that point I knew a lot of people. And so they're like, "Hey, you want to try this one out? Hey, you want to try this one out?" And so my latest was I was driving a 1986 Fox Body Mustang in John Deere green and yellow that had been stripped out on the inside. It only had 1 seat, and it was in a prepared class. And it's a fun car to drive. He just did a Coyote motor swap, I want to say. And this is the worst part about me being on this podcast, by the way, is because I never know the stuff that's in the car. I'm like, it was just really fast and fun. And I do what's called butt dyno instead of like a regular dyno, where like my friend Beach will say, "I think if we take 2 clicks out of the compression in the rear and we stiffen up the shocks on the left side, that I could really do this turn a lot better." And I'll be like, "It just didn't feel right." And then they do something, I'll be like, "Oh, that's much better." But can I express what that is? No. So yeah, that car was awesome. Do I know the details of what is under the hood? Absolutely not. I know I shredded the alternator one time at Nationals. That was about the worst I've done to it.
Wow.
Well, they bought belts. It was not the right size.
All right, so Alison, since you're to the level of being an instructor, my driving style question to you would be: what's more important, the process of letting off the brake as you transition into the apex area, or the feeding onto the throttle as you exit the apex area of a turn?
Oh, that's tough. I'm a hard breaker, so like I'm gonna take your face off. So that part is not generally my problem, but my problem is that I am a light switch driver, and so feeding onto the throttle is something that took me a lot of practice, because I like to just be like, "Wee!" and then you go in circles, wee.
Gotcha. Yes, I used to be the last of the late breakers, because I did a little bit of road racing, and I typically would outbrake myself and not carry enough speed through the apex.
I like high horsepower. I can't do momentum cars.
Doesn't that only make a difference if the car has a ton of understeer?
Yeah. I mean, you can trail the brakes later into the turn if you have a lot of understeer to keep the weight on the nose of the car. And it's also how you get off of the brakes as you're feeding into the throttle, as you're trading the grip of the tires from, the fore aft direction into the side to side direction.
Okay.
That's the kind of details that I can't. I'm like, I feed onto the throttle until I feel the back end start to come around, and then I ease up a little.
Okay, that's yes, that's the Michael Schumacher. That's the Michael Schumacher technique of throw it into the turn, see what happens, and work your way out of it. Yeah, that's
how I operate in life, I think.
It's actually generally, it's just actually a sound theory.
We should hang out more often. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, what's gonna happen if I do this?
Right. You learn a lesson either way, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've told my son, and I've told a lot of my direct reports, I say, we never fail. We just find another way how not to do something.
Right. Dave, should we head up to the track and teach each other how to drive one day? Is that we could?
You know what, Mickey? At this point, for the last 5 minutes in conversation, all I've been trying to figure out is, can I insert a baller joke?
You should have watched Porsche Super Cup today.
Porsche. I mean, the last 5 minutes behind the scenes, I've been thinking of the term butt dyno.
Butt dyno.
Yeah, that's it. It's an industry term.
It is an industry term.
But Dino the Bollard.
I learned a new term.
Yeah.
No,
Alison, the unofficial mascot of the Thing About Cars is Phil the Bollard.
Because he usually has a really hard time on the European circuits, especially, and today was no exception, as the Porsche Super Cup race was red flagged before the first lap was completed, as 6 cars took each other out in the first corner of the first lap. Welcome to the season.
Yeah. That's like I had a track event where somebody wrecked their car on pit out, and I was like, "Come on!" And everyone was just like, "Oh, buddy, you didn't even make it onto the track."
Right.
If you knew,
bless.
If you knew how many Facebook statuses I have that usually consist of something along the lines of, how in the Sam hell did Romain Grosjean manage to crash on a formation lap? I am going to hit you with a baguette.
Well, there was wetness involved.
More violence. We need to stop. We need to have an anger management session of the Thing About Cars. Is probably what happened.
The problem is we've got too many tools to wield.
That and there's too many stupid people. I mean, how many literal hours of rants do we have from me and automatic transmissions?
Yeah, let's not get started on that again. We were here for 3 days. So
yeah. I mean, I'm and people in general, and why do you all make me mad? Not people here, present company, absolutely excluded. I love all of you so very much.
We got to say we do it because it's fun and amusing.
Yeah, because you like to wind me up and watch me go like the little top indentures. That's really adorable.
Sometimes you got to poke the bear.
So, yeah. Alison, and this is a question that also sort of sideways pointed at Tim. And I'm always dreaming big. It's been my quest for a while now to figure out how to turn the Thing About Cars into a television show. And I've been trying in vain for a couple of years to gather enough footage to make a sizzle reel for us, and try to present it to TV people. Is there ever an occasion where we might just get the TTAC crew up there, us, to do some driving on our own? Is that a possibility?
Okay. So insurance makes that, so you can absolutely sign up as a novice for a Track Night in America event. And we have them at Road Atlanta, which I would not recommend for your first on-track experience, because Road Atlanta eats cars, no matter how good you are. But we also do races at Atlanta Motorsports Park, which can be a little bit easier, especially if you're in a momentum car. It's a Miata course, if that makes sense to you. It's fun. It's technical, but there's not a lot of space to get yourself in trouble like at Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
But then you can have in-car video, and then you can have people. I could get people on as photographers to take pictures and video of you guys going around. I would just have to clear it.
I was just thinking if the 4 or 5 of us could figure out a way to try to outdrive each other in a mundane car. It doesn't have to be simple.
Well, I mean,
like a reasonably priced car kind of vibe.
Exactly, something like that.
Yeah. So the thing is with insurance and track costs, to rent a track just for the 4 of you guys would be very cost prohibitive.
Sure.
Very. Yeah. So it would have to be, you guys could get in the back of a pack and just mess with each other, but there would be other people on there with you. The other thing you could do, and what our friends always do, is we'll do the kart track at AMP. And it's really fun. It's got a lot of elevation changes. It's not like Andretti's, where it's just like small and flat. This is a little bit more for real. It's not shifter kart fast, but it is a good time. And it's in the infield of the AMP track. And so I would definitely recommend that for getting your jollies in and trying to beat the crap out of each other.
For our budget, I think it's probably Honda Civics and T parking deck at Georgia State.
You read my mind.
You could do autocross in time only, and then race against each other, but you wouldn't all be out there at the same time.
Right. No.
Right.
I was thinking 285, and let's risk it all.
I mean, honestly.
I mean, that has been done once back in the early 80s.
Yep.
As an unofficial event. Not officially sanctioned by a sanctioning body with 4 letters in its name.
We never had this conversation.
Right.
Never,
yes.
Alison, this has been an absolute joy to have you with us today. I need to wrap the episode now, but like I said, please be a part of the crew, and we do this every Sunday. Or at least when we have guests, we do it every Sunday. We need to pick up the production schedule again and start cranking it out again. But this has been a ton of fun. Is there anything else you want to tell the listening audience about SCCA or driving or why women belong in motorsport?
Yeah, I think women belong in motorsports because women belong everywhere.
Yes.
And so it's, every time I meet a girl and she's like, I got a lead foot, I'm like, girl, I got a place for you. Let's do this. Some of my best girlfriends are my racing buddies, and it is absolutely a place for us and a fun place to be. I know, and I'd love to come back because we didn't even get into like how I honestly came by racing, which is like my granddad used to race Daytona when it was on the beach, and they built the banks out of the sand. So like we didn't even get into like the historic pieces.
Okay. So next time we will reserve a day for the historic. We'll get
absolutely.
When is the Daytona 500? Maybe we should, require
typically the second weekend in February.
Yeah, I think that's
round about there.
But this is going to piss off a lot of people what I'm about to say. But you know what scares me about the Daytona 500?
What?
Florida people?
The fans, yes, the Florida people.
Well, I mean,
steal your joke. I was trying to make my own.
That's right, Florida people. And I went to school in Florida. I got my first degree in Florida, and I love it there. And yet, I went around the Daytona 500 when I didn't actually go. But holy mackerel, it's a different cultural experience. It's vividly culturally.
Daytona in general was vividly culturally different.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's if there were ever supporting evidence for Ancient Aliens not being just crap TV, it's Daytona.
So, although Jeep Week is a close second.
Which week?
Jeep Week.
Oh.
Oh. That's a special kind of crazy. That's amazing.
I did not know there was a Jeep Week. Can you guess which one of us drives a Jeep?
Ooh. Okay. I know it's not Misty because she has an ND. I'm going to say Dave. I don't know why.
Well,
was that right?
You would be right. Yeah.
It's because he has the most nicest coiffed hair of all of us.
Just to flutter in the breeze. Do you do the Jeep wave, Dave?
I do the Jeep wave. I do.
Everybody does.
In fact, actually, it's funny. I just bought a new Jeep. I had
It's very pretty.
Yeah, my Wrangler, my first Wrangler, lasted 16 years, and took it to the dealer, and they wouldn't work on it because they no longer work on anything over 10 years. So I'm like, fine, I traded it instead. In the case, you're going to work on it anyhow. But the new Jeep is a plug-in hybrid with power everything. It is far and away the nicest ride I've ever had.
I was going to say, the last time I rode in a Wrangler, I needed an extra sports bra. It was a rough ride.
It's especially when it's on electric. It is smooth. The torque is amazing, and for 90% of the time of driving I do, that's totally fine. I took it on its first road trip to Gadsden, Alabama, and I discovered a little quirk in how they redesigned the cruise control, because I'm used to cruise control where you push it down for set accelerate and it starts accelerating, and when you let up, it stops at the point we're at. This being all digital, if you push it once, it adds a mile to your speed. If you push it twice, it adds 2. If you hold it down like the old one did, it goes light speed.
Oh dear.
Plaid.
No.
You meant plaid.
Do you have ducks as well? Do you have little ducks?
I have 4.
I knew it.
Okay.
All Jeep guys are the same, and girls. It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's.
There's one important difference here.
Well, I think it's, I think when you have specialty cars like that, like the Jeeps, like the Miatas,
It's a cult, for sure.
It is. I mean, because I'll be out. I'll be up. Was there just a wreck?
Tim, turn around. Something just happened.
Shit, yeah,
that was Colton Herta's wreck yesterday in qualifying.
That was an insane one. That still wasn't the one that broke the tether. But anyway, like you have the Jeep Wave, and it's just the same. I'll be cruising down whatever, and guy blows by me in an MX-5, and we're like, yeah, it's like, hey, and it's, because I have a personal rule that if it's above freezing and there's no precipitation falling, I'm probably going to have the top down.
Same.
Why you get a car like that?
Unless my hair has to look perfect where I'm going, and I don't have time to recoif it.
And it's very seldom that if I have my top down, that I don't see other MX-5s with their top down. And it doesn't matter if it's an NA, NB, NC, ND, whatever. We are one. And it's. I'm 6,000 kilometers away from home, right? And I'm driving down, and Mickey mine's bigger.
Oh,
just saying.
Fidgeting.
And it's still that one finger. So sometimes it's just that one finger. You cruising out, and it's a troop, and they're like.
So my boyfriend said when he sold his Jeep, the saddest part was that he doesn't he got a Mazda, because we're a Mazda family now. He got the CX-5 Carbon Edition with the all-wheel drive and the turbo, and it's nice.
CX-5.
Except for I did learn that if you jam the accelerator while you're changing lanes, you will see the face of God, because the turbo kicks in and you're way up high. And I was like, oh God, okay. But he's really sad that nobody waves at him anymore in his new car, and that's his big bummer.
Mazda needs to step up. There needs to be a Mazda wave. Like a gang.
Well, we have the MX-5 wave. We have the Miata wave, and it's just very, it's hey, what's up?
The joke about in motorsports is that Miata's the answer. It doesn't matter what the question is. Okay. Miata's the answer.
So here, I've got one last thing, and then a homework assignment. The homework assignment comes first. Let's try to be the people who do the trend setting for the Mazda wave. Just general Mazda. What is the wave? Just wave at each other because we're in Mazdas? Is it a sign? Is it the 3 fingers down? 3 fingers down for Mazda? Yeah, I like it.
Well, that's a bad idea.
Both hands off the wheel every time. Oh, God.
Just 3 fingers down for Mazda. Oh, hey, Mazda.
Or do you do something like this for the sun god? Or
that's the Ahura Mazda.
That's right.
All right. So one last observation. I was at a Lamborghini event couple weeks ago. I was invited at the last minute. I didn't get to tell anybody I was going. and that's a much larger story that I'll tell you about next time we get together. But they were to Atlanta. It was an Atlanta-specific event to unveil to Atlanta the new Urus, the new Lamborghini SUV, the Urus, which now has what is essentially a hybrid engine in it that packs 800 horsepower under the hood of street legal SUV.
Yeah. Man, all right. How long before somebody semi-famous flips one?
I'm wondering.
Over under less than a week.
It has a very wide footprint considering. I mean, it's a Lamborghini, so they do have the stance down, even though it's ostentatious. It's just ostentatious.
If there's a god, the celebrity who flips it'll be Elon Musk.
Oh God, yes.
Well, but it's not of his own manufacturer. I was going to, it would probably be a football player.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Atlanta. I was thinking that it might be an up and coming
baseball player.
It could be
or a baseball player.
They're doing events all over the country, I'm sure. I got to interview Lamborghini folks. I'm trying to clean up that audio because there was another guy dragging us on here. We don't need to do that to our listeners. Tim,
so it'll be PCH.
Yes.
LA celebrity will do it on PCH.
Exactly. Tim, take it away. What's the let's do our trivia thing.
Okay, to take it from the top.
Yeah.
Back in 1909, what was the first product that Permatex developed for automotive use? Was it A, leather adhesive for automobile roofs? B, a shellac to bond tires to rims? C, chrome polish? D, gasket cement? Or the late addition of E, rubber cement? So we'll go with our guest Alison first. Go put you on the spot. What's your best guess?
I'm going to guess tire shellac.
Okay. Missy?
I've been tossing this over in my head, and I'm going to go with A because I'm like looking at the text, textile. Leather is textile-ish. I'm reaching here, okay?
Sure.
I'm 5'3". I have to reach for a lot.
It's up on the top shelf. Yes, it's a.
Thank you.
All right. Dave?
Because all of the other ones make the most sense. Shellac makes the least sense, so I'm going to say shellac.
Okay. And Mickey?
Rubbers.
All right. It's actually B, the shellac to bond tires to rims, which ironically is still available from the company. Wow. The backstory is the founder had attended a 24-hour endurance race at Sheepshead Bay Track near Brooklyn, New York. Observed many of the cars were forced to make frequent pit stops to replace blown cylinder head gaskets. The mechanic for driver Ralph De Palma's car sought Mr. Benoit's help after De Palma's car blew its head gasket for the fourth time, and he applied some of his experimental gasket cement, and the De Palma car drove for the rest of the 24-hour race without any further gasket problems. And on that day, Permatex entered the automotive maintenance chemical business. So obviously the shellac, I guess, was already out there. But yeah.
And it's only appropriate that we end the show with the term head gasket.
Amen.
So
amen,
thank you,
brothers.
Thank you to our listeners for hanging with us and tolerating our nonsensical ramblings on this rainy Saturday here in Atlanta and the sunny day over in the Netherlands. If you want to find us, please find us on our Facebook page. We also have a LinkedIn page. We've actually had quite a bit of success there, reaching out to automotive industry professionals there. So please, you can leave comments there. If you have a suggestion for the show, we desperately need to hear it.
You're just tired of my suggestions. Go ahead and admit it.
What? Never mind. We're going to have this discussion offline, Miss.
In the After Dark chapter.
In the After Dark chapter, yeah. So Alison, thank you for being our guest today. I can't wait to do this again. And like I said, open door for you all the time. Please become a regular. So
if you come back, I'll send you stroke waffles.
Ooh, deal.
In the meantime, be safe out there, especially in the rain. Take it easy, everyone. We'll see you in another episode shortly. Take care, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Thing About Cars. We'll see you on the road.